And it is I, G. Gordon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now as my guest is Congressman Scott Tipton, who was born and raised in Cortez, Colorado, graduated from high school there, went on to Fort Lewis College in Durango. He was the first person in his family to graduate from college. And after college, he went back to Cortez and co-founded Mesa Verde Indian Pottery, a small business, with his brother Joe. And it was as a small businessman that he came to recognize that jobs are created by small business folks. And he was elected to the Colorado House of Representatives for the 58th District in November of 2008. And in 2009, getting more concerned with Washington's reckless spending and watching, what it did to his fellow Coloradans, he decided to run for Congress. And he's a member of the United States House of Representatives right now. And Congressman Tipton, would it be fair to say that you're one of the 78 new freshman members of the House that sort of sent there by the Tea Party movement?
I think that was sure an element in our race. We had great Tea Party support, 9/12 group support, and from the traditional Republican Party as well. And the mantra was the same, that Washington is out of control, and many people are just like me. I'm a small businessman, and for years we've seen Washington continue to work in its traditional fashions, and nothing's ever really been accomplished. And I think many of us have gone with the mission of changing the way Washington truly does business, and we're bringing small business ideas that you don't spend more than you're able to take in. You put forward real plans. You invest in things that are going to be beneficial, but you realize that there are limits, and you can't be everything to everyone.
Yeah, well, that's just good common sense, and that's what's necessary for success in business, small or large, and that seems to be seriously missing here in Washington, D.C.
There's no doubt.
No doubt. Now, these continuing resolutions that they're having here, how much longer do you think we're going to have to put up with that?
It's pretty much my sense, Gordon, that we may have well seen, I can't speak for leadership, of course, but we may have well seen the last of the short-term continuing resolutions. I think that what our focus has to be on is being able to get jobs going, and that means we need to be able to get certainty back into the marketplace so that people know what they are dealing with. And we've been giving the Senate and the President the opportunity to be able to chime in, to be able to give their solutions in terms of reducing this crushing debt on the backs of our children and grandchildren. And we've given them time. They haven't responded. And we call on the Senate and the President to step forward and stand up for the American people rather than for bigger government.
Okay. Now, you've got, 3 more weeks before the current CR will expire, and there's going to be a vote coming up as to whether or not to increase the debt limit. And that gives you leverage once again, I would think, to do some serious cutting. Do you think that that cutting will include anything having to do with Social Security and Medicare and Obamacare or anything of that sort? Or are we going to try to just eke it out along the edges, by defunding public broadcasting and stuff like that? That's a good thing to do, but that's not going to get the job done, is it?
No, it isn't. And I think, it's been a remarkable thing to me. I come from a small business background, and when you look at how they do business in Washington, any common sense businessman just has to shake their head. When we look at the continuing resolution, and I sat down and visited with Paul Ryan a number of times on this to really try and understand how the process works. The continuing resolution effectively deals with the past. The debt ceiling will deal with the present, and where we're going to be able to have our greatest impact and to be able to address and, in my mind, start to get us on the right path in this country is when we ultimately get to the budget. Some of the constraints that you have through the rules and just legislation is that you aren't able, on a continuing resolution as an example, to be able to legislate. And that's what a lot of us are there to do. And that opportunity will come once we actually are able to write a budget. The preceding Congress, the 111th Congress, failed to even pass a budget, their constitutional obligation, and failed to do that. And so we're cleaning up a bit of their mess and working our way through it, and we're looking forward to being able to work on the budget. And I think everything's going to be on the table. We have to have a clear-eyed view. We need to make sure that we're standing up when we're talking about the entitlement programs for our senior citizens, the people who don't have an option, but we also have an obligation to be standing up for our children and grandchildren and for their future and building out a better pathway for them.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. The fly in the ointment, of course, is the Democrat-controlled Senate, and then, of course, the president has, the right of veto. And in the press, they're characterizing it as playing a game of chicken. But I think the American people know that we have to, have serious cuts, and that if the Democrat administration won't go along with it, then it'll be on them closing down the government.
I think that's exactly correct, Gordon. The president and the Senate seem to want to play politics. We have to get to work for the American people. This shouldn't be a game of chicken. The stakes are too high. We want them to step to the table. As I've traveled throughout our district is the 8th largest congressional district in terms of geography in the entire country. In terms of those that aren't complete states that have only one member of Congress. But every meeting that we're in, people are expressing their opinion, and these are open town hall meetings. We have Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliateds that are there. People recognize that with $14.3 trillion debt in this country, we're getting ready to add on about another $1.6 trillion at the end of this fiscal year ending September 30th, that having $45,000 plus per person in this country, $127,000 plus per taxpayer debt in this country is simply not sustainable. They understand that we have to be able to get our fiscal house in order.
Yeah. Well, that having been said, what do you predict you'll be able to get through that they will, they being the Democrats, will sign off on?
Well, through our committee, we've got a great chairman in Sam Graves, who's chair of the Small Business Committee. And as you're well aware, the number one job creator in this country happens to be small businesses, businesses like mine that are grown from literally the ground up through innovation and through creativity. And so we're putting forward, and we hope that our colleagues in the Senate will actually step to the plate and that the President will embrace just some common sense solutions. As an example, we passed out of the House of Representatives the repeal of the 1099 provision, which was going to be an onerous burden in terms, particularly on small business, where we were going to have to fill out forms for every purchase over $600. A reasonable person would simply ask the question, why even do it? There wasn't a responsible answer. This is going to end up saving about $20 billion in additional cost. We're looking at putting forward legislation that I think would be received well in terms of paperwork reduction. Small business is greatly impacted by that. Filling out forms for the federal government for their statistical purposes, taking away precious dollars that we can use to be able to invest in equipment and our people. We've repealed Obamacare, which was a tremendous job killer and continues to be in this country simply from the uncertainty of it, not to mention the real costs that are going to be on the backs of businesses that are struggling to be able to compete and to be able to just stay afloat right now. These are positive ideas that we're putting forward, and we hope that the Senate and the President will see the common sense in those ideas and the importance of standing up once again for struggling families and senior citizens who have no choice. Let's work for the people, not just building bigger government and bigger power in Washington.
And Congressman Tipton, I understand that you have introduced legislation, being an experienced small businessman yourself, to reduce the corporate income, capital gains, and dividends tax rates to 10%, so that they would attract new business and create more jobs. Is that information correct?
Yes, that's correct, Gordon. We're excited about this. Chairman Graves has been terrific in our committee in terms of focusing on a laser about the importance of being able to get jobs created back in this country again. And we've had a lot of testimony. And there's a lot of inhibitions right now for Americans to be able to step out, to be able to create those jobs. In our 10-10-10 legislation, to be able to reduce the corporate tax rate, capital gains, and dividend tax rate down to a flat 10%, is a jobs creator. We have the empirical evidence of this. We've empowered the American people in business with more of their money. They've actually stepped out, innovated, and created jobs and got the economy moving, and that's exactly what we need to do now. On the corporate level, we currently have the highest tax rate in the entire world. And we need to make American business competitive. We've been driving for decades now American jobs, American businesses, American capital off of our shores, and it's about time that we made our businesses competitive, our businesses profitable, and started putting Americans back to work. This legislation will achieve this. When we're looking at the dividends rate, when we're looking at the capital gains tax rate, we have the empirical evidence under Ronald Reagan, under Bill Clinton. When we lowered that capital gains tax rate, we unleashed entrepreneurial capital in this country, gave people the incentive and, more importantly, the resources, which happen to be their resources, by the way, to be able to step out and to be able to create that business, to fill that blank street on Main Street, and to be able to get Americans back to work. That has to be our mission right now. In my 3rd congressional district of Colorado, with the exception of our 2 resort communities in Aspen and in Telluride, we have virtually double-digit in unemployment in every county. And this is after the failed stimulus package that the President and the Democrat leadership of Pelosi and Reid had touted that we had to spend $787 billion to keep unemployment at 8%. Well, we far surpassed that. We have to get Americans back to work now on a daily basis, and through our committee, we have had people come in and testify about their frustration of government regulations, government interference, in terms of impacting their ability to be able to get people back to work. The American entrepreneurial spirit is alive. It's well. We just need to unleash that creative capital and get our people back to work. And our 10-10-10 legislation, I think, will help move us in that direction.
Yeah, I would certainly hope so. I lived in Colorado many years ago. I lived, let's see, about 1959, 1960, and there's been tremendous changes since I was there. There were only 2 tall buildings in all of Denver when I was there. The Mile High building and I think the May DNF.
Right.
And there's been a lot of change that's been made, and it's by small businesses, because the only business that they had when I was there was Coors Brewing up in the north there, and then Coors Porcelain made the missile nose cones down in the south, and that was it.
And we've had a lot of growth in Colorado. I think the census shows we have now over 5 million people, and as you note, small business happens to continue to be the number one job creator.
Yes,
we have tremendous potential here out of my congressional district to be able to help on a number of fronts for our country. We have one of the largest oil shale depositories in the entire country, abundant natural gas. We have uranium, abundance of coal. All of these, if we create those opportunities to be able to let American business work once again, we're going to be able to create jobs, because really when we look at the entire picture, we all know that we need to reduce the size of government. We need to reduce spending in Washington, D.C. But the other very important component of this is we have to be able to get Americans back to work.